All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we're going through Proverbs 5:21 through 23. Let's get it. For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray. So, first, jumping right into my interpretation of it. God's watching us, right? Here it says, for man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord. The eyes of the Lord are on man's ways. God's watching us. And with God watching us, we can choose God or we can choose him, or we can choose God or we can choose him. We can choose God or we can choose our own path. And when we choose our own path, when we choose not to heed the wisdom that Proverbs is talking about, the iniquities of the wicked will ensnare us. We would be held fast in the cords of our sin and will die for lack of discipline. And because of our own great folly, we're led astray. So that's kind of my interpretation of it. It's like God's watching us. He wants us to walk his path, to follow him. And if we don't, we're going to be ensnared in our own sin. And literally our own folly is going to lead us astray. And it's going to be like a negative rabbit hole of like, yeah, you do something stupid and then it leads to a dumb thought, which leads to a dumb feeling, which leads to another dumb action, which leads to a dumb result, which then reinforces a dumb belief, leading to another dumb thought, which causes another dumb emotion, which follows by a dumb action and creates another dumb result. And that's kind of just a negative rabbit hole. And it just keeps getting dumber as it goes, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of my interpretation of it. When I think of it from an entrepreneurial sense, I thought of luck. And the definition of luck I've heard is that when preparation meets opportunity, one is lucky. Well, I think we both prepare, like we prepare on our own, but God also prepares our hearts. So we aren't alone in our preparation process. I think there are things we can do, and then there are things that God puts in front of us and puts in our life and puts in our environment to prepare our hearts to take on what is coming in the future. I don't have a biblical basis for that. I tried to think of a scripture right off the bat. Um, Maybe the pruning, the scripture about the pruning. I don't know exactly which one it is, but God like prunes us or kind of just trains us up, right? Um, Man, what is that? It like talks about us being a tree, and I think it's called pruning, but basically it's like taking away the dead um branches, right? And so God prepares our hearts. He also creates opportunity though. So if this was three parts, it's like we need to prepare, God needs to prepare us, but then God also creates the opportunity. God has a much bigger spot in this than we do, right? And the more we get out of touch with what is true, with what is in his word, the harder it will be to prepare properly for the opportunity that he's trying to prepare us for. So he's helping us prepare and he's creating the opportunity. But when we're not doing what we need to do and staying in touch with truth and walking in step with the spirit, it's going to be hard to take advantage of the opportunity. And it's going to be hard to let our hearts be prepared. Like we need to let ourselves be transformed. We don't even need to transform ourselves. We need to be transformed by God and his word and his truth. So um, the entrepreneurial application is the opportunity that God's presenting to us. And if you're not Christian, maybe it's not God presenting it to you, but the opportunity that's coming into your life, if you're not preparing well, you're not going to get it. And you don't prepare well by letting the iniquities of the wicked ensnare you. So if you're hanging around crappy people, hanging around wicked people, and they're trapping you, you're going to be screwed, right? If you're held fast in the cords of your own lack of discipline, your own impatience, your own poor character, poor skills, or poor beliefs, you're going to miss the opportunity. So the people around you and you hold you back from getting the opportunity that you need. That's really the entrepreneurial application of this verse. And for those Christians out there, God's putting that opportunity before us and he's on our side. If God is for us, who can be against us, right? He is literally on our side. But when we act like he's not, and when we act like he's not creating that opportunity for us, we're going to miss it. And we're going to be ensnared by our own sin, and the wicked are going to get us. And then we're going to die for lack of discipline. And it's all going to be because of our own folly. So, where has this shown up in my life? Limiting beliefs and negative thoughts put me in a mind state to miss opportunity where I can help people, love people, or show godly character. Just today, I'm literally recording these podcasts right now at like 7:50 a.m. About an hour ago, we had just gotten back from the gym, Gracie and I. I was washing dishes One dish was really hard to wash because we didn't put some water on it, right? I was like, man, if she had just put some water on this dish would be easier to wash. I was like, why can't she just put water on the dishes? It would make my life so much easier. No, I stopped myself. I was like, literally, what are you thinking about? How productive is this thought at all? All it's doing is making you feel more negative emotion early in the day, which is going to affect your work. It's going to affect how you treat Gracie. It's going to affect the impact you'll be able to have later in your life because of how you acted today. That small negative thought would have had a ripple effect had I not stopped it. And it already had a ripple effect with me just thinking it, right? And so it's just crazy how our limiting beliefs and negative thought can put us in a mind state where we miss the opportunity to help people, love people, or show godly character because we're focused on ourselves and we're being selfish. Now, where do I want this to show up in my life? Oh, and by the way, those limiting beliefs, those negative thoughts, right? Those are the cords of our own sin. The reason I can think that thought is because I'm far from truth. That's it. That's the only reason that thought can exist. If I was closer to truth, I wouldn't have had that thought, or I wouldn't have entertained that thought as long as I did, right? Um, so yeah, I was ensnared there. Or I was caught in the cords of my sin. I wasn't ensnared by other people, but I was caught in the cords of my sin. And for a lack of disciplining my thoughts, there was a little bit of death there, like a little bit of stuff that I didn't need to experience that I did, right? And so that's where it showed up in my life. Where do I want to show up in my life? I want to be attentive to wisdom and apply it to my life so I'm not caught in my sin, so I don't die for a lack of discipline, so that my great folly doesn't lead me astray. Like, I just want to apply wisdom to my life. And so that's reading Proverbs, that's reading the word, that's getting around people who reinforce reading the word and accurate interpretations of it. Interpretations that align with God's character and align with God's service and helping people and loving people in really big, cool ways, and don't tolerate fear or selfishness or greed or gluttony or sloth, right? Like, they're pushing us towards God, right? That's what our community needs to do. That's what the word needs to do. And that's what we need to do for ourselves. How can you guys apply this to your life? I would say seek discipline in all that you do. And if you're not Christian, I just said you need to be in a community of people that are pushing you towards God. Maybe you're not Christian. Maybe that's not for you, but you can still be attentive to wisdom and apply it to your life and seek discipline in all that you do by getting a community that's going to help you expand in the ways that you want to expand. If you want more money, get around people who have more money and are getting more money in the ways in which you want to get money, which I hope are very moral ways that add to society, right? And so pick a community that's going to help you grow, where the wicked won't ensnare you, but the righteous will uphold you. And you won't be caught in the cords of your own sin, but you'll be pulled out of the cords of your own sin. And discipline will be embraced as a community, and it will empower you to embrace it individually, right? Like, get in a community that's helping you do all these things, not keeping you trapped, not crabs in the bucket pulling you down, but are pushing you forward, and start seeking discipline in all that you do in the little ways, because the little things add up. And the discipline of going to sleep every night at 9 p.m. will pretty much go into every area of your life. Because if you go to sleep at 9 p.m. and you wake up early and you do something hard first thing, whether it be work, intense, deep work, or working out, the rest of your day is going to be fairly easy. Let's be real. So anyway, there we go. That's all we got. That's all we got for you guys today on the show. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.